So in this, what exactly I'm doing? First, okay, so I'm launching the application and then I'm logging in. Yesterday we created these functions. And then after login, I'm clicking on PIM link and verifying whether it's navigated to employee information page or not. And after that, in case if it is not navigated to, this is need to be changed. Not navigated to employee list page. Okay. In case if the application is not navigated to employee list page, then I'm stopping the execution. If it is navigated to employee list page, it continues, and then again I'm clicking on add employee. After clicking on add employee, again I'm verifying whether it is navigated to add employee page or not. Okay. So in case if it is not navigated to add employee page, then again I'm stopping the execution. If it is navigated to add employee page, it continues. Then I'm entering first name, middle name, last name. Okay, so from where I'm entering, from where I'm retrieving the data, I'm retrieving the data from data table, first name parameter, data table, middle name parameter, and last name parameter. And since it is in the global sheet, I'm not given DT global sheet here. I just said data table dot value of parameter name. That's it. And after that, okay, so the first name, last name, middle name, I'm entering without any condition, because for all the combinations, for every test case, those three fields I need to enter the value. But in case if I don't give middle name, it will be empty. Okay, it will be empty. Now, after that, so what I have done here, the employee ID, I don't need to enter for all the combinations, right? So I need to enter the employee ID only when the script should enter the employee ID only when I provide in the parameter. If I don't provide the employee ID in the parameter, it has to keep default, so it should not enter. So that's what I'm doing. If employee ID is given, that means if it is not empty, then only enter the employee ID. Otherwise, you keep the default employee ID. That means don't enter any employee ID. If you don't enter employee ID, what will happen? Whatever is already there in it, and then it will keep as it is. Next is what I'm doing. Okay, the credentials also. I don't need to enter the credentials every time, right? So I have to enter the credentials only when I want to create the employee with credentials. So what I've done, I created one parameter called with credentials. Then I will be giving yes or no for with credentials. If it is yes, then only I have to, script should select the checkbox and then it should enter the username, password, and all those credentials. If I give no, that means that I'm creating without credentials. So this piece of code should be executed only when I'm creating with credentials. What is the criteria for me to say I'm creating with credentials for script? My criteria is if with credential parameter gets yes, that means I'm creating with credentials, else no. Okay. So this will be executed only when I'm creating with credentials. Then the location will be with respective of with credentials or without credentials, location needs to be selected. After that, okay, so once I'm done, I just need to click on save button. So once I save button, what I have to do, I need to verify whether employee has been created or not, right? So what is the criteria for you to say the employee has been created or not? The criteria is, okay, once after you click on save, then if employee is created, it will navigate to the next page. Personal details of the employee will be displayed, right? If the employee is not created, then it will be in the same screen. So what I'm doing now is, see here, I'm just checking whether the personal details element has been displayed or not. If the personal details element is displayed, then it is saved. Otherwise, no. Okay. So what I'm doing exactly here, I'm doing almost all the validations. First, whether as soon as I launch the application, see application has been launched or not, I'm doing validation. As soon as I log in, again I'm validating login is successful or not. As soon as I click on PIM, see whether it is navigated, add employee, whether it is navigated, after saving whether employee has been created or not. So I'm doing almost all the validations here. Okay, then so what I'm doing now, after writing the script, I just completed script writing there, and I'm doing a parameterization from the data table, and from which sheet I'm parameterizing global sheet, and how many rows that I've used, 4 rows. 4 rows got 4 different combinations here. Okay, So the combinations are like this. Now, first combination is the first combination is uh, without credentials. Second combination is with the credentials, and another one is user defined employee ID, and another one is, oops, there is some problem with the EFT. I don't know. I forgot to save that. Another one is with employee ID only, sorry, with credentials but disabled status. Another combination is with user defined employee ID. I think I forgot to save the changes what I did. Okay, I'll save it. Right? So let me run the script and see what will happen now. Just let me do one thing. Let me do one thing. Let me go for data. No means without credentials. Here without credentials. Here it is enabled status and it is disabled status. Two combinations with the credentials, two combinations without credentials. Run the script. So logging into the application. First combination has been executed. Click on add employee. You can see it is creating with credentials now. So validated. So every time it is logging into the application and logging out, right? But so create employee, only create employee needs to be iterated. Login and log out anyway common across for everything. So now the fourth combination is being executed. Now we can see user defined employee ID has been entered. Then how many times script has been executed? 4 times the script has been executed, right? But I don't want to execute it for 4 times. What should I do now? I mean, it's not like I don't want to execute for 4 times. I want to execute, but launch and login should not be executed 4 times. Logout should not be executed 4 times. So only this piece of code after login, before logout, only this piece of code should be executed for this many times, right? But when you say, like, when you call it as an iteration, when you store 4 rows in the data table, it's not like that only certain part is for iteration. I mean, it will be executed for this many times. The old test will be executed for this many times. Since old test is being executed, the launch application login and logout also part of old test, right? So that's the reason those also will be executed, right? So that's the reason what I do. If you want to execute only this for 4 times, then you have to do some setting again. You go to the settings and run. What I am doing, I'm saying run one iteration only. Let me know if you don't understand now. So I want to execute for all the rows. Int total rows in the data table equal to data table dot get row count. So what is the use of get row count? This is another method that which we have in the data table. Now we have seen data table dot value, data table dot set current row. So set current row is used to specify from which row the data has to be taken. And data table dot get current row means to retrieve the total number of rows used in the data table. Okay, by default it will be retrieving from global sheet. So get row count method is used to Get row count method is used to retrieve the total number of rows stored in the data table. Now, so what I do now, I'll say for I equal to 1 to so what I'm doing, I'm keeping only that particular code in the loop. Launch application and login, I'm not keeping in the loop. Since okay, I selected the first option, so it will say that execute only once. But executing only once, but since I kept inside that, since I kept in the loop, then that loop will be executed for this many times. And again, if I run this, what will happen? Every time data will be, it will be executing for 4 times, data will be taken only from the first row. So what I do again, data table dot set current row of I. So what I do now, what will happen now? This will be executed only once, and this piece of code will be executed for number of times based on how many times how many rows have been stored. And every time, first time, okay, so it will be set to first row, second time in the second iteration of the loop it will be set to second row, third row, like this. Now if you run the script, what will happen? Then script will be executed for this many times. So before that, let me change the data. 1 to 4, 1 to 5. Okay, so first iteration. Now we can see that logout is not happened, browser is not closed, right? So employee ID is okay, that's fine. Last one is not created, and go to the results. Script should have been failed now, because the last iteration was failed, right? And if you look at that, click on the save button, the employee was not say created, but all remaining thing like employee was being created. So if you want to execute for particular rows and all, then you can use this technique. Now again, what it does, when I say for equal to 1 to total rows, again this loop will be executed for 4 times, or if I store 10 rows, then this loop will be executed for 10 rows. But sometimes, what I do, I need to get some kind of flexibility here, saying that, okay, execute only for specific data sets, not for all the data sets. Okay, so sometimes what I'll be doing when I'm doing a regression or when I'm doing a retest, I want to test. Now assume that in earlier iteration, executing with user defined employee ID has been failed. Okay, so I logged a defect. When I logged a defect, then because of some issue in the application, it was not creating with user defined employee ID. Now I logged a defect and developer has fixed that and given that defect. Now what I have to do, I need to retest that defect. Since the script is already there, then instead of manually retesting it, then I can run the script. But when I want to run the script, then for which combination I need to run? I need to run only for the user defined employee ID combination. I don't need to run for remaining combinations, because remaining combinations were okay, were good, but only the user defined employee ID combination was failing. So I need to rerun only that particular combination. But when I run the script, what will happen now? It will run for all the combinations again, right? So that means you lose out the flexibility. Sometimes you need to run only for one combination, or you might need to run for two combinations, or like this specific combinations only. So in such cases, then I will change the data a little bit. Now again I will change the approach a little bit. Now what I do is, I'll go to the data table. I will insert another parameter here. The parameter is, I'll say to execute. I'll give a column called execute. Then I will give this S. Now, if I give S for this data set, then this combination should be executed. If I give no, then this combination should not be executed. Now, what combination that you want to execute? Only user defined employee ID. Now, I will change the employee something like this. Then I need to update my code a little bit. How would I update? Then BLN to execute equal to data table dot value of, I'll say to execute. If BLN to execute equal to yes, if it is yes, then only you execute all this. Otherwise, don't execute. Right? Okay. Now, if you run the code, see what will happen. Login is going to be failed. That's okay. What happened? Maybe run again. Now you can see directly it went for last combination. Remaining combinations were not executed. Okay, now if you will get the flexibility of running for any combination now. Whatever the combination that you want to test, then you'll say yes, def. Right? So now you got the flexibility. Either you test for all the combinations, or you test for only a specific combination, or you test for multiple combinations of data. That's what the data parameterization exactly. Right, so this is what something that you achieve when you do the parameterization, but when you hard code the data, this you can't achieve. Right, so every time if you want to run with a specific combination, again you need to go to the script and then you need to do the modification. But now if you want to run for any combination, no need to touch the script. Without touching the script, then you can run for 4 different combinations. Right, the advantage of doing the parameterization. This is called data driven approach. Whatever that we are doing now, exactly that's called as data driven approach. Depends on the combination of the data, then script will perform some events and will ignore some events and all, the conditional basis. This is the reason, this is the use of the conditional statements, why we have learned the conditional statements and why we have learned the loops and all here. Okay, then now what I have to do is next, We will implement one by one, everything that we learn now. When you look at the report, it is doing okay. It's giving all the validations, right? Now, if you want to see, I mean, see, this is too technical report. Like most of the people may not be able to understand every event, whatever you have executed, everything will be coming in the report. Instead of that, if you want to see only past one, go to filter, and you can select only past, and you can see only past steps will be coming. Now you can see every step has been passed, application has been launched. How many total? 5 steps you have done. And the second validation is log into the application. Third one is click on PIM link. Fourth step is add employee. Then after that, you save. After that, log out. Log out, I did not do a validation. Okay, so otherwise, then log out also should have come. Now, if you look at this, right, what it says here, capture data, no data has been associated. Now, all the report that whatever you are giving here, the report is giving in the form of text, right? Normally, this is the report which you are going to share with all the people. Normally, okay, so you don't share the script or not because script cannot be understandable by all the people. And what you will be sharing to the client, what you will be sharing to the manual team, or what exactly you are going to store there in the results only, whatever the results generated by the scripts. But if you generate the report with the text, then nobody will be able to, by just by looking at this report, assume that you have not seen the execution. You have seen only that. And by looking at the report, then you can say that employee has been created. But is it trustable much? Like let's say now, since I know sometimes what happens because of the time, right? Because of time was not much available and all. Then I just simply wrote the report like this: employee was not created, without doing the execution. But what is the evidence that the employee has been created? Just you see in the form of text, if I give the report like this, then I could have written anything. That even the employee was not created, in the report simply I have written like employee is created. But what is the solid evidence for you that that employee has been created? Right? So maybe the employee ID who have got created, we could give, or instead of that, if you could give screenshot along with this report, if you could give the, if you take the screenshot and then if you provide the screenshot of that particular page once after employee is created, doing the validation, if you provide the screenshot along with this text, then what will it will be a visual evidence for everybody, right? So that brings the trustability, right? That brings the trust, right? So when you're providing the report and all, then it's not just about providing only the text form of the result. Also, you have to provide the visual proofs of your execution, visual proofs of your testing. What is the visual proof of your testing? Nothing but the screenshot. Okay, maybe the text can be formatted, text can be faked, but here the screenshots cannot be faked, right? So what we need to do now for the report, whenever I'm writing the report, then along with the report, what I should do? I need to, yeah, so provide the screenshot. I need to provide the screenshot. Then the question is now, how would I take the screenshot of the application and then how would I provide the screenshot here? Okay. So I see along with the parameterization and just showing a complete implementation. Okay, so one by one. So that saves a lot of time for us. Then how would you take the screenshot? When all I need to take the screenshot one by one. Whenever I log in, I need to provide the screenshot. Whenever I navigate to PIM, I need to take the screenshot. For add employee, click and navigate add employee, I need to take the screenshot. All this. Let's see that how I take the screenshot. First, let's do one thing. First, you should have a screenshot folder created. I just created one folder already, but I just deleted yesterday. For yesterday's script, I already created one folder for storing the screenshots. Whenever you want to take the screenshot, then first, okay, you have to store the screenshot in the local system. From the local system, you can pass the path of the screenshot to the report, so that report will take the screenshot. Okay, so I have created a folder called screenshots under EFT folder, G EFT screenshots. Let's take this. Now, what you have to do, first login. As soon as the navigation is successful, you say, if it is exist, I need to take the screenshot. How would you take the screenshot of the page? You say browser dot page dot, you have a method called capture bitmap. The method name is capture bitmap, which will be used to take the screenshot. Okay, so capture bitmap method is used to capture the screenshot of any of the object, not only just a page, but for which method, for which object you use the capture bitmap, that object screenshot will be taken. Then there will be two inputs for the capture bitmap. One is the path of the image, absolute path of the image. Absolute path of the image. Absolute path of the image in a sense, like you need to provide where that after taking the screenshot, where that screenshot has to be saved, as well as the name, what is the name of the screenshot along with the extension. But remember, uh, the capture bitmap supports only two extensions. One is PNG, second one is BMP. BMP is the highest pixel rate you get, and PNG is lowest pixel rate that you get. Okay, so PNG is the lowest pixel rate. That's the reason size will be very less. But see, you don't need too much clarity and all, right? Okay, you don't need too much clarity and all. So as far as the validation can be done, that will be fine. But image also will have enough clarity, no problem. But it gives the lowest pixel rate and the size will be very less. That's the reason most of the times we'll be using PNG. So the first capture bitmap for first input is the absolute path of the screenshot. So absolute path in essence, this is the relative path. This slash, you need to give the also. Then I'll say login.png. Login.png. That's the first input, absolute path of the image. Then the second input is true or false. That means that is for overriding. In case if there is any image already exists with the same name in that path, then assume that okay, you have done already one execution. When you do the execution for first time, then the screenshot might have already taken and stored it. Next time when you run it, then since there is a screenshot already captured with this name, then for every execution, if you want to overwrite, then what you do, second input you give as true. Okay, so second input is for overwriting. First input is for providing the absolute path of the image. Second one is for overwriting. When you say overwriting, if there is an image already there, if you give true, if there is any image already stored, then it will delete the old image and then it will save the latest image. Now what I have to do after taking the screenshot, I need to give this image to the report. You need to give the image to the report. Yesterday when I told about reporter.report event, I told that there are total 4 inputs for the reporter.report event, but we have given only 3. What are they? One is the status, pass or fail status. Second one is the step, and third one is actual result. And the fourth one is the path of the image. That is optional. In case if you want to provide the screenshot to the report for that particular step, then you can give the screenshot. That is being optional. But you need to provide the absolute path of the screenshot. Whatever the image that you have captured, then you can provide the path here. That is the fourth argument. Fourth argument is the screenshot path. Okay. Report event. Four I have given now. What are the four inputs now? Status, step name, actual result, and screenshot. Okay. Here also, once after you click on PAM link, what you have to do? You have to do the validation. After doing the validation, I'll say browser dot page dot capture bitmap of. This time I'll say PAM page dot PNG, comma, I'll give as true. That means if there is an image already exists. I'll give the screenshot to the report. Right? Next, what you do? Add employee also. We'll say add employee you can just give the screenshot. You have to provide the absolute path of the screenshot image for the report also. Then personal details also. I'm just giving that save EMP. That's it. Okay. So what I'm doing everywhere, wherever I'm using a report event, this time I'm giving four inputs. Because I just along with the text, content in the report, I want the screenshots also coming. Now let me run the script again one more time. So employee is not being created. Logged out. Okay. Now open the report. View, last and results. Log into the application. Now you see here under captured data, along with the text content, user is successfully logged in. Then you can see the screenshot. Click on PIM link. You can see here it's navigated to PIM page, employee list page. Click on add employee. Then it's navigated to add employee and click on save button. Then you can see here when why it has been. This will be a clear evidence why it has been failed or not. Right? When you say employee was not created, then whoever is analyzing the report or whoever is validating the report, then for them it will be little difficult to understand why it has been failed or why it is not creating. Right? But now after looking at the screenshot, then they will come to a clear conclusion, say that why it is not creating. Right? And that is also a visual proof for the user. That is a visual proof for the user. That's it. Okay. So this is how normally you need to provide the reporting, but still we are going to do a customization. But whenever you are writing the script, it is important for you to generate the report as well. and not only just text content. Along with that, if you provide the screenshot to the report, then it will be easy for everybody to understand the report. Because remember one thing, whenever when you write the script, so your job is only to write the script according to the manual test case, and then the execution, you might do the execution or somebody else might do the execution. Okay, so now in case if you are only executing the script, then that will be fine. Then you can take the pain in updating the data, all those. But in case if somebody needs to execute the script on behalf of you, then that's where the problem comes again. If somebody is executing the script on behalf of you, then so they might be good in scripting, they might not be good in the scripting. So if they are good in the scripting, still with less modifications, they should be able to execute the script. With they are not good at the scripting also, still they should be able to execute the script, right? But if you hardcode the data inside, then if somebody wants to execute the script, then it will be difficult for them to modify the data or not. But if you do the data parameterization, then it will be easy for everybody to specify for which combination we have to execute the script and for which combination we don't need to execute the script, and then it will be easy for them to modify the data. Also, if you provide the result like this, execution result like this, then it will be easy for everybody, will be easy for everybody to analyze the report, to understand the report, why it has been failed and why it has been passed, whether you have executed right or not, right? So when employee has been created, then it will take the screenshot of that employee creation screen, so that it will be, it brings the trust on your script. It brings the trust on your script. Okay, this is the way of coding exactly. But I just mixed the things along with the parameterization. But I'm just just trying to explain you the way of writing the code and why should you do the validations and all, the way of giving the report. Okay, 15 minutes, right? Got right. So now we have seen the use of the parameterization, but still some of the methods are left out in the data table with respect to of this. Next, what I need to do is, now I need to execute for all the combinations. Just wait. Data. I need to execute for all the combinations. So what I did here, I've given as yes. I've given as yes. Now when I give as yes, then what will happen? All the combinations will be executed. This is where something that I need to do something here. But the last combination is used for user defined employee ID. So this is where that it will be entering the employee. Now I have a small thing here. What is that? In case if you are creating without with inbuilt employee ID or auto generated employee ID, what you have to do? Whatever the employee ID generated there, you need to capture that employee ID and then you need to pass back here. Because I want to store the auto generated employee ID for the future purpose. That if you are generating with user defined employee ID, anyway you are already passing to the data table, you can take. If you are creating employee with default employee ID, this time what I have to do? I need to do the reversal. The reversal in essence here. Okay, so now I'm taking the data from data table to application. I'm passing to the application. But now when I'm creating auto generated, I need to take the auto generated value and then I need to pass back to the data table. I need to pass back to the data table, right? So the question is now, how would I take the value which is generated in that particular field in the application? What I have to do now, if I want to take the value, if I want to store the employee ID which has been populated, then what I have to do, I need to take the value from the employee ID field, right? In the employee ID field, the value has been populated. So whatever the value populated in the employee ID field, then I need to capture that. To set the value into the edit field, we use set method. But I don't want to set the value now. What I have to do? I need to fetch the value. I need to fetch the value. So how do you fetch the value from the field? Right? Write down the method. Write down the. So where I need to fetch. If employee ID is not empty. If employee ID is not empty, you set it. If employee ID is empty, then you take the existing one. Method name is get RO property. Get RO property. RO stands for runtime, actually runtime object. Get RO property. The method get RO property is used to retrieve a property value of a runtime object. The method get RO property is used to retrieve the property value of a runtime object. Okay, just write that. Runtime object is nothing but the object which is located in the application. The object which is located in the application is called as runtime object. Okay, right? So it retrieves to retrieve the property value. But as of now, I will not take too much on it. So what I'll do is I'll say value, get our property of value. But just I will come back in detail. I will explain about this in detail further. But just you right now, for now, you just say that webedit dot get RO property of value. That means I'm retrieving the value of value property. What is that value property and all? We'll see. We are going to use different properties. For disabled or enabled, we have disabled property. For checkbox, checked property. A lot of things are there, which we will see one by one. Now, what this does is this line will retrieve the value of the employee ID field. Whatever the employee ID that has been populated in the employee ID field, it will retrieve the value. What should I do now? I need to, yeah. So I'm retrieving now. I need to pass back to the data table, right? How do you pass it now? How are you retrieving the value from the data table? Data table dot value. So the same method data table dot value is used to pass back to the data table. So data table dot value method is used to read the value from the data table, write the value into the data table for both. Now I'm using the same line here, but what I'm doing now, almost the same line, right? But what I'm doing now, first in the first one, variable is at left side, method is at right side. So method fetches the value, passes to the variable. Here variable right side, method is at left side. So variable contains the value now, and that will be passed to the method. Method writes the value to the data table. Okay. So this is how you will be doing. Now what I do is, let me execute again, but before that let me say, I'll just write something like this, just instead of test and all. Just some names that I write. No Dhoni. Okay, done. So let me execute. I mean, if the script is being executed, just wait. Because you need to see every time. Now you can see that whatever the employee ID was populated, the employee ID was captured during runtime, and you can see that the employee ID has been populated into employee ID field. So let me continue. Now we can see for the second set it has captured and then passed. You can see it's also being passed, right? So what's happening here? Look at the data table, employee ID parameter, right? So what it is doing, it's capturing whatever the employee ID that has been populated here. So that employee ID is being captured and then passing back to the data table. It's writing into the data table. So it's not all the time that you take the value from external source and pass to the application. Sometimes what you have to do, you need to take the value from application and then you should save it. Why do you need to take the value from application? Maybe for the future purpose. Whatever the employees that you are creating, you need to store it, and then probably you need to use those employee IDs little later for some other purpose. So that's the reason what you do. Whatever the employees that you are creating, you are capturing the employee IDs of all. Then you continue. Okay, done. Now execution has been completed, right? But you see that during runtime, you could see that employee IDs were populated, right? Look at that now. What happened? Execution has been, but during the execution you are able to see that. But now what happened after execution is completed? Data is gone. The reason why the data is gone, because when you do some changes to the data table during runtime, even the same thing happened for import also. Same thing happened for import as well. So when you see when you do some update to the data table, maybe you import the data or you update the data or you delete a row or something like that, then the changes whatever you're doing during runtime, those changes are available or those changes are applicable only during runtime, only when the script is being executed. Once the script has been executed, once the execution is completed, then whatever the changes that you have done, whatever the data that you have updated, or whatever the data you have written, whatever the data you have imported will be gone. But that will be there somewhere called runtime data table. But now the data is gone now because I have written. But now I just don't want to only to store during runtime, right? What I have to do? I need to store it permanently. Once after writing the data, once after I'm retrieving the data from application passed to the data table, whatever the data that I'm passing, that I need to store it permanently because I need to use the same employee IDs in another script. What should I do now? Got what I'm saying here? So whatever the data that now whatever the data that has been written there, that is an updated data, up to date, that is updated. Then whatever the data that has been updated and all, I need to store it permanently. But that is just it's being temporary now. How do I make it permanently? You cannot store directly in the data table now. So what I have to do is now, okay, once I update the data in the data table and all, then okay, before I stop the execution, to keep it permanently, what I do, I need to export the data from that data table to an external Excel file. If I export the data into an external file, then what will happen? The data, whatever I export from the data table to the Excel, then the data will be stored permanently in the Excel. Later on, wherever I want to use the data, whenever I want to use the data, I can import the data. We have already seen some importing there. So whatever the data that I have exported into Excel, that data I can import into the data table in some other script that wherever I want. Right? So now importing and exporting, there are two things. Import means if the data is already there in the Excel and then import into the data table during the runtime. Exporting means the data is there in the data table, updated data is there in the data table, and I want to keep it in the external Excel file. Then how would you do that? How would you do that? Then again, for importing, we have got two methods. One is import and second one is import sheet. Similarly, for export also we have two methods. One is export and second one is export sheet. Export and export sheet. Right down. Data table dot export, data table dot export sheet. Data table dot export, data table dot export sheet. Okay, so export method is used to export the entire data table into the Excel. Entire data table in the sense all the sheets of the data table into an external Excel file. Export method is used to export entire data table. That means all the sheets of the data table into an external Excel file. Import method is used. Export sheet is used to export a particular sheet of the data table into external Excel file. Okay. As of now, export is not much required for us. Okay. Now, what you have to provide is for export sheet, two inputs needed, mandatory inputs. One is path of the Excel into which Excel that you need to export. Second one is name of the sheet in the data table. What is the sheet that you want to export? Name of the sheet in the Excel will be given same as name of the sheet that what you are exporting. Now what this export sheet does is, in case you have to provide the absolute path of the Excel. In case if that Excel is already there, it will not overwrite the Excel file, but it will check for the sheet because it's export sheet, right? It will check whether this sheet is already there in that file. If the sheet is there, it will overwrite only the sheet, not the file. If the sheet is not there, then it will create a new sheet in the same Excel file. That means if the Excel file is already there, it will not overwrite the Excel when you use export sheet. It will overwrite only the sheet. In case if the sheet is not there, in the same Excel file, it will create another sheet. But if the sheet is already there with that name, it will overwrite that particular sheet. In case if the path, that file, that whatever you have given Excel file, if that Excel file is not there, then what it does? It creates a new file. Understand? If the Excel file is not there, it will create an Excel and creates a sheet. If the Excel file is already there, it creates a sheet in case if the sheet is not there. If the sheet is already there, it will overwrite only that particular sheet and keeps the Excel, remain Excel normal, remaining Excel. Okay. Now what I'm doing is, maybe I'll just create another folder here. The folder name is data. Okay, I'm just creating another folder called data. Then what I do, export sheet, I'll say mp create dot xls x. So that this file is not there, right? In that path, this file is not there. So let's see what will happen. mp create dot xlsx, and then the second one is, what is the sheet that you want to export? I want to export global, because there is nothing in the local sheet actually. Since there is nothing in the local sheet, then I don't need to do that. But since all the data is being stored in the Excel sheet only, sorry, in the global sheet only, and I just want to export only the global sheet. Okay. So what I did now, say data table dot export sheet and path of the Excel and the name of the sheet. This is, again I run the script. Let all the script executed. This is done. The fourth one. This is also done. Yeah. Now export sheet has been executed. Now we can see the sheet has been created. Now the old data global sheet has come. Right? The data has been exported into Excel sheet. So now in case if you want to use this employee IDs and a data null in another test, then what you can do, you can say data table dot import sheet of this particular Excel and this sheet name that you can import. This is what export sheet. So in case if you are fetching some data from application and passing to the data table, and if you keep that in the data table only, that is being temporary. That will be available only during runtime. But if you want to store it permanently, then what you have to do, once the execution is completed, before you stop the execution, you have to use export. When you export the data, then that data from the data table will be coming into Excel and stores the data in the Excel permanently. This is the use of exporting. No, you can't export only particular column. Okay, you can't export particular column. But if you want to export only particular column, then there is an alternative way. From the global sheet, I mean, if there are a lot of columns in the sheet already, and if you say that no, I don't want to export all the columns, I want to export only that particular column, then there is no possibility. Either you export whole sheet or you export nothing. Okay, so that's the reason what you do is if you want to export only this employee IDs, nothing else, then do one thing. Don't store this employee IDs in the global sheet. Only for storing employee IDs, what you can do, you can create another temporary sheet. You can create one temporary sheet and keep or pass those employee IDs into the temporary sheet and export only that particular temporary sheet. Since only employee IDs are there in that particular sheet, then only employee IDs will be coming into the Excel. So that's what that we need to learn. How we can create a temporary sheet, how we can create a parameter, how we can pass the value into that particular temporary sheet and then export it. Okay, so that we will see tomorrow. We'll stop now. Okay. Huh? No, if you have two sheets or assume that you have five sheets in the data table, then if you say export, all five sheets will be exported. When you use export sheet, one sheet will be exported. So if you want to export two sheets, what you have to do, you need to use export sheet for two times. Okay, you need to use, you give the same Excel path, but the sheet name here change. Now, what will happen is, if in case if this file is not there, first time it will create the, for first export sheet, it will create the file and creates this sheet. And for second export sheet, the file will be already there because first export sheet has been already has created the sheet, right, already. So for the second export sheet, it will create only the sheet in the same file. So if you want to export two sheets, then you have to use export sheet for two times. But if you use export, then you don't need to provide any sheet name. You have to give only the file name there. So all the sheets of the data table will be exported into the file. That we will see tomorrow. Tomorrow we need we have got a scenario for that, and then I will tell you. Okay.